Any questions before we get started? Just to make sure. No? Okay, great. So we're going to start a little bit differently today. I am going to run a quick video from Shark Tank. And so because we're talking about money tonight, you're going to be the Shark Tank, okay? And so we're going to listen to the pitch and presentation, and I'm going to have a couple of questions for you. And then we're going to go into our main presentation, and then we'll have a follow-up discussion afterwards to see if you changed your mind or had a different thought. So everybody's good with that? How many of you are fans of Shark Tank? You could raise your hand or do a reaction. Okay, good. It's like NBA in a box almost. So let me just queue up my video here. Okay, okay, let me make sure you got the sound. There we go. All right, here we go. Please take notes. It's helpful when you're jotting down stuff. Pay attention. Let me give you a hint. Pay attention to the numbers, okay?
Themselves up with these buttons.
Next into the tank is a family that wants to spice up your life.
Hi, Sharks. My name is Tyler Simone Creighton.
And I'm her mother, Monique Creighton, and we're from Houston, Texas.
Woo! Sharks, we have a secret.
Sauce!
Introducing the award-winning Sienna sauce. It's delicious.
So good, it was even featured at the World Food Championships.
Sharks, when I was 8 years old, my favorite wing place closed. And I loved their sauce so much, I couldn't imagine life without it. So I tried to recreate it, but ended up coming up with something even better.
Sienna sauce was created in my kitchen, has grown into a line of 3 flavors, tangy, lemon pepper, and spicy. It's gluten-free, has no high fructose corn syrup, and can be used as a marinade dip glaze.
Or even your favorite new put that on everything sauce. And Sharks, that's just the beginning. We're seeking $100,000 for 10% of our company, and we'd love your help.
But first, let us sauce up your life. We're gonna ask you to start from left to right with our famous Sienna wings. That's where we got started in our kitchen in 2017. Then we will have our French toast bacon jam. Wow. So the great thing about our sauce is also in an ingredient.
Yes.
So we use our tangy to create a bacon jam.
Wow, I love the bacon jam.
I'm still on the tangy, but it's sweet. And it's got a little kick.
Yes.
It's so good.
Next, you'll have the roasted lemon pepper with Brussels sprouts and potatoes.
And that's our most popular flavor.
The next, you're
I'm just pausing for a moment. Is anybody having trouble seeing the video?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
we see
I don't see the video at all.
Yes. Okay, it's because I was wondering, nobody said anything. Okay,
Well,
let's.
I
Dr.
thought
Walker,
you
I
were
sent you
playing closed
messages.
caption.
I just looked at the message, but something like that. Just shout it out. Okay, let's restart it and see if we can. Get everyone.
It works better without saying it.
Okay.
Think about every day they're just beating themselves up with these buttons.
Can everybody? Can you see the video? Do you have audio?
No.
Just audio.
only audio.
Only audio. This is odd. Okay, let's stop and just try it one more time. By the way, I hate Zoom, but that's just me. I do take this kind of stuff personal. Okay, let's see. All right, do you see video now?
No, only words.
No.
Only words.
Ah, this sucks. I don't know why it's not showing. And what words are you seeing, just so I know?
The actual, basically
What they're
closed
saying.
caption of what they're saying.
Oh, just the captions. Oh. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. Well, really quickly. Let me just double check a couple of things.
Was it actually showing the video for you?
Yeah, I was into it. I started taking notes.
I think one of Zoom's latest updates won't share videos anymore.
Oh Lord, that sucks. Unfortunately, this is a mystery to me because we showed the video last week. So this is unfortunate. Okay, we're gonna switch gears. We'll have our presentation and I'm sorry, did somebody say something?
I was just gonna ask, are there things that we're visually gonna see that we need to see, or can we just kind of pick it up based off of what's being said?
What's being said is the most important. The visual is that it's actually two Black women. That was gonna be, to reinforce the theme. Is everybody okay with just listening to the audio? If you can't hear it, can't see it?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
That's
do that. I
fine.
sincerely apologize. I tested
No
everything
problem.
earlier. Not sure why it's not doing. So we'll continue.
Is a family that wants to spice up your life.
And everybody can hear the audio, correct?
Yeah.
Hi, Sharks. My name is Tyler Simone Creighton.
And I'm her mother, Monique Creighton, and we're from Houston, Texas.
Woo! Sharks, we have a secret. Sauce! Introducing the award-winning Sienna sauce. It's delicious.
So good, it was even featured at the World Food Championships.
Sharks, when I was 8 years old, my favorite wing place closed. And I loved their sauce so much, I couldn't imagine life without it. So I tried to recreate it, but ended up coming up with something even better.
Sienna sauce was created in my kitchen, has grown into a line of 3 flavors, tangy, lemon pepper, and spicy. It's gluten-free, has no high fructose corn syrup, and can be used as a marinade dip glaze.
Or even your favorite new put that on everything sauce. And Sharks, that's just the beginning. We're seeking $100,000 for 10% of our company, and we'd love your help.
But first, let us sauce up your life. We're gonna ask you to start from left to right with our famous Sienna wings. That's where we got started in our kitchen in 2017. Then we will have our French toast bacon jam.
Wow.
So the great thing about our sauce is also in an ingredient.
Yes.
So we use our tangy to create a bacon jam.
Wow, I love
Really
the
good.
bacon
I'm
jam. On the tangy, but it's sweet, and it's got a little kick.
Yes, yes.
It's so good.
Next, you'll have the roasted lemon pepper with Brussels sprouts and potatoes.
And that's our most popular flavor.
The next, you're gonna go to the smoked sauce. That's our new sauce that we're introducing for her birthday next month. We're introducing
Happy
for her
birthday.
smoked sauce.
How old are you?
I'm 16.
So smoky
Oh
and
my
delicious.
goodness.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you.
And the last, you have your shrimp cocktail, and we saved the spicy for last because we didn't
Yeah.
want you to mess up your palate before
Yeah.
you get to that spice.
Whoa.
Oh, that has a kick. That's hot.
Yes.
It's delicious. I like
You need
it
a
though.
hose on that one.
Yeah.
They're not from Texas. They can't handle it.
Woo!
Where are you selling your product now?
So right now we're in 68 stores.
Wow.
People buy it online and we ship all over the country. 54% of our sales are online and 30% of our sales are in stores.
And what are your sales?
So Lifetime sales are $255,000.
Wow.
Last year we did $171,000, and this year so far we've done $84,000.
That's a lot of sauce.
Yes.
Where you're manufacturing, what are we looking at from your cost of goods to where you're selling it?
Yes, so currently we are manufacturing in Houston. Our retail price for our product is $9.95 online.
Now, I have to go back for a minute. You said you were 16 years old?
Yes. I created the sauce when I was 8. So finally my mom said I could bottle it. So I initially started the company when I was 14, and we started with a wing place. So we sold wings out of our house for a whole year. And we made $50,000 selling the wings out of our house. And
That's what's up. That's awesome.
how we
That is
tested the market.
incredible.
And then end of 2018 is when we actually started selling the sauce. And so with that, we stopped the wing place, and we were like, since you guys love our wings so much, you buy our sauce and you make it yourself. And not only is it good for wings, but you can use it on all of these amazing
I don't
foods
get
as
why
well.
you stopped it, though. Why stop it? It was dragging customers in to try your sauce.
When she was ready to bring the sauce to market, the smarter thing for us to do in our business model was to bottle the sauce first. It was the best way to get her started because we couldn't afford at the time to put the money into a brick and mortar or food trucks. But we still have that base, we still have that customer base, and they still love us.
You said 68 stores.
Yes.
So currently we are in Wegmans.
Yes.
Okay.
We're
Oh,
in
wow.
on the East
That's
Coast.
a
we're
big
in,
accomplishment.
Yes, so we're in 10 stores on the East Coast in Wegmans. We're a test market with them.
Tyla, you're amazing.
Thank you.
How are you 16? This is incredible.
Were you at 8 years old going, I want to make products?
So it kind of came from me watching this show. And when I was 8 years old, me and my mom, we had just came from being homeless, and we moved into this one-bedroom apartment. And I started watching Shark Tank, and that's when I started seeing entrepreneurship as an option. And as I got older and was finding out more about myself, I decided that entrepreneurship should be the route for me, and I started my business.
That's awesome.
And through our company, we actually give back a lot. I knew that me selling sauce would be an inspiration to the youth, and that's why I speak almost 4 times to 3 times a month, speaking to the youth and telling them that entrepreneurship is an option.
Amazing.
Wow. I mean, Monique, you must be beaming
Good
with
for you.
pride.
Good for you.
I
your
am beyond
daughter.
proud. She inspires me every day.
Of course.
And I'm just always in awe with her. So yes.
When you went homeless for a period of time, how did that happen?
So we were actually living in a very nice brownstone, and the woman who was renting it to us, her son was coming home. She wanted the house for him, and so we had to leave. And at that time, my mom, she didn't have a job, and she made a promise to me like that we would never be homeless again. And that just really taught me about her hustle, because she sold baskets for baby showers, anything that she could possibly do. And then when we got the apartment, she got a waiter job right by my school. So every day she could come pick me up from school, and I would sit there and wait until she got off of work and do my homework. And that's how we were able to keep the apartment.
That's so nice.
What an amazing mom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the great news about this sector is the condiments and the sauce business is in the billions of dollars. The bad news is it's really competitive.
Right.
And so to get national rollout, you have to be working with a distributor in this category.
That's why we're here. We're here for a
Okay, everybody,
Yes.
you invest in this business. Tell me why. That's the discussion question.
The young lady is very spoken, very well spoken.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Back to the
number of
question.
Reasons. It tells a story.
Yeah.
It tells a story, so it's selling. It's family oriented as well. It makes me want to buy it. It's like, give me the sauce, give me the recipe.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You're all both correct. But here's the question. Would you invest? All right, you're CEO.
I thought
I've appointed you all CEOs. You're the Shark Tank. Would you invest?
I think I would possibly invest. She's only asking for 100,000, and that's going to give 10% of the business. Basically, is what she's saying. The total, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence because the total that they've made is like 255,000.
Right.
So she's asking for half, a little bit over than half than what they've already made. But even though she said they made 84,000, thus far this year. So that would give me a comfortable say, okay, yeah, I would think about investing in it.
So
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm with Nicole, but I think the 100,000 is a little too much for 10%. I think because like Nicole said, she only made 84 so far. And I think I got 255K that she made in 1 year. So that's like half of her. Right now, she's asking for half of the profit. I mean, well, half of, it's not really the profit, but the, what do you call it? The cost of operating. And I think that's a little bit more than 10%.
Okay,
Then
she's
we
so
have to visit what works and what also don't work too. Like what they've been doing that probably has thus far been working for them, what their business plan and stuff looks like too.
mm-hmm.
I would
Okay.
want to see those things as an investor. Like I'm gonna ask for that.
Okay. All right. So you want more information. So you
Right.
so okay. All right.
I would
Anybody
like
else?
to-
I'd like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like more information as well.
I think we're,
in
I want more information too.
Yeah, in
You
terms
really
of
got to think long term with this one.
what's the $100,000 for? Is she planning on doing some sort of distribution, or like you said, getting a
Exactly,
distributor? So
because
yeah,
that's
it's a
why I
little
want more information,
information.
because if I may not give her the 100,000, I may can advisor, can give her some an advisor to take a different route and different things.
Me
And I was gonna say,
personally, I'm not buying sauce for $9.95. That's just me. Let's just
Okay. Okay. That's a new one. All right. I'm listening. I'm taking it all in. Okay. Anybody else?
Yes. Can
and
you hear
what are
me?
the current operating costs?
Monica, can you moderate the who wants to speak so we can get them? So I think Mr. Fred, you said something.
Yeah. I'll wait for the ladies first. I'll come.
Okay. Classic gentleman. Wow. Okay. So let's either raise hands in the video or on the reaction button, and Monica will get you. Okay. Anybody else? I think Tiffany wanted to say some more.
Yeah, it was just one thing. It was just in terms of what her current operating costs the year that she made the 255, and yeah, that was the last thing.
Okay, so let me just point out something. I like the fact you guys picked up on the 255, but the key to the 255, it was the
Cumulative.
lifetime sales.
Yeah.
It was not per year.
So she had 175 last year and she had 84 this year. But what portion of that was the 50K in wings? Is a good question.
That was before she actually started the sauce.
Oh, before the sauce.
Right. Yeah.
So based on her, to me, I think based on her drive and the market need, I would invest in her, because if she can make 50K in wings and then her sauce in her first year did 171. And this year, it depends on when that was shot. Was it?
I think she did 71 last year and 84 the following year.
Oh, 71 and 84? I
Yeah.
think it's 171. Because how did she get to 255?
Wow.
Yeah, it was 171.
This is 171. My bad. I wrote it down.
So it depends on where she was at the 84 to me. Was it like March, April, May? How early in the year was it? And then you could forecast out what she's going to do for the remainder of the months to finish her whole year out. But she has a lot of potentials and she's moving a lot of weight.
Okay, Mr. Fred?
Yes, my concern would be to see her business plan again. Also, and I would like
y'all
to
know y'all setting yourself up. I hope you know your answer to your own questions when we get to the end of this presentation. But okay, go ahead, Mr. Fred.
Okay, thank you. So as a learning curve, I also would like to know, first of all, how much can I afford to invest? I'd like to know.
You're a shark. You're Mark Cuban. You have you're worth like 500 million. Yeah.
Oh,
I have seen it. I'm talking this into existence, and so we're practicing.
Okay, well
Yeah.
in that case, I'm just gonna buy her out. No, just joking.
That is an option as an investor.
Right.
That is an option.
Right. I noticed also too. I would like to be informed as to what is going to be her audience. Who is she going to be catering to? Promotion and marketing is a key too. One thing I would like to suggest, since I'm Mark Cuban, or any of those people in that $1 billion frame of wealth, I would make my first connection to Oprah Winfrey. Now, if I get on Oprah Winfrey, then I'm investing everything I can invest in. So I think distribution and who you know, as we always say so often, is more who you know than what you know. So,
right. So, but she's there for help with distribution, right? At the end,
right.
She said that's why she's in Shark Tank, because if you notice, did you pick up on what, I know, I'm sorry you didn't get to see it, but you picked up on what Kevin O'Leary said. He said, in this sector, you will need a distributor to go national, right? Okay.
Exactly. That was the last line.
Yeah. Right. So that highlights what we spoke about in session 2 and a little bit of session 1. You have to know your sector and how your industry sector operates.
Right.
Because not every business has to go national in that way, but her business. And what industry do you guys think she's in? Just wild guess.
Well, it's going to be. It has to be someone to a degree in the food industry, right?
Yes. Good start. Yep. Wonderful. Anything else you want to add to that?
That's specifically a condiment.
Marketing.
So in her industry, she would have to look at food and then look at the subcategory, if there is labeled that, the condiments, right?
Right.
And then there's another factor she has to consider, because they're making the sauce. So there's a level of manufacturing she has to look at in the food industry. That manufacturing process is going to be different than maybe some of you guys in your industry. But you see all those different elements she will have to kind of get to know to really, they've done great so far, but you got to think about that.
Right.
So let me ask you guys, you got you sharks.
We have a hand raised, Nicole.
Oh, hand raised. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I also would like to know her shelf life, as we're talking about that. Like, what's the shelf life of her product?
Good question. Good question. I love it. All right. Anybody else? This is great. This is great stuff. Okay. Is anybody feel any kind of way that they're in 68 stores, and let's say this was a 2020 presentation, and they started in 2017. How do we feel about that they're in 68 stores?
2017. She started in 2017, right?
Yeah. Yep.
68 stores. That's 4 years ago.
Yep.
Not a lot.
So that's roughly that's about 15 per year, right? About 17 per year.
Something like that.
Right.
So Monica said it's not a lot. Would anybody else got a thought?
Well, she did mention a national chain, Wegmans, so that makes it a little bit better.
So does that change the perception of the business, because part of the 68 stores is a major national grocer?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
How do we feel about 54% of the sales are from online?
Feel good about that because you can reach anywhere.
Right.
But yeah,
that
but
might
that's,
actually
in the pandemic.
Well, if we're going to evaluate her for this year, being 2021, and knowing that we went through COVID, and knowing that how the largest volume of online sales period was online for the past year and a half, right? So
it's not my industry. You the shark.
Okay, so I'm evaluating what's been going on. So I know for a fact from my staff that the bulk of sales this past year and a half has been from online. stores have been closed, so people have been online. So if I figure if we keep this growth going before people come physically into the stores, I think I'm in a comfortable position.
Okay. All right.
Michelle, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I'm a little worried because if she's in 68 stores and only doing 30% sales, are people actually buying it off the shelf? You know, and so she said she had her clients from her neighborhood buying the wings or friends that way. But the marketing for in Wegmans, how is that going? Is what is her product competitive to all the rest of the products? That's what I would ask.
Okay. All right. All right.
Tiffany?
Michelle just said it. Actually, like right there, like Michelle just said it. And I guess what it all leads to, and the way I'm one of them I don't want to say overthinking. I'm always thinking of ways of growth. So with turning things into a pro, I would say also it's an area for improvement. Like, so you have to think about what you have to do outside of just making them online sales, or to get a diverse crowd to buy your stuff off the shelves.
Okay. All right.
Okay, may I back up a little bit too?
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Fred. Then we got Mr. Cole after that.
Okay. Also, too, I'm thinking in terms of if she's been this prosperous, once again, under these conditions, in this last year and a half, I'm saying, well, what's going to happen when we get back, hopefully get back to the norm? And I'm looking at her marketing ability and her personality, her charisma, how she become on sales. I'm looking at how she can expand the business. I'm looking at the fact that we haven't even touched schools yet because she's of a younger age. I'm looking at an audience that has been handcuffed, not being able to be exposed to her yet. So once we can come back and open up all the doors and go through all the schools and get the people of her peers and get her on this beautiful marketing promotional tour, then that's going to enhance the business even that much better. The good thing I like about it, because we have not explored all arenas yet.
Okay.
And since we haven't gone into the unknown yet, I feel good because we're in a good position to go into the unknown now.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Great points. Ms. Nicole, what you got?
My question was just this, what's wrong with it just being online? Like, what's wrong with it just being an online business? And as far as Wegmans, like she said they were in a test market in Wegmans, so they're not really in Wegmans. They're just
all right, coming up with the facts.
And at Wegmans. And on top of that, I'm sitting here while I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, as Mr. Fred was talking, I'm like, all right, so why can't we, I would talk to her about actually doing like a business to business. Like, let's go to a restaurant industry. Let's push it, to the restaurant industry.
Wait a minute. We don't have session 3 and 2 and 3 coming in. Okay.
And then that way, like, I don't see anything wrong with just being online. I really don't.
Okay. All right.
That's me.
All right.
Patrice and then Tiffany.
And then we'll wrap up and go to the rest of the presentation, but we'll circle back. Ms. Patrice?
Hello, was it expressed how many employees she has or if she has any?
That was not mentioned. Great point. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm concerned that if she doesn't have enough employees, or if she does have employees, she might be just breaking even as far as the profit side. So she will be able to grow the business without, some money, some investment.
Right. Okay. Great point.
Tiffany, I think it was Tiffany Randall.
Okay.
So y'all brought up some great points. Even speaking of what they both just said with the online, this actually gives them room to. I think we just raised some great points where they have what do we call them? They have a lot of room for innovation. This mom and her baby, they have a lot of room to create a great product or future products with this entity here.
Okay.
Okay, can I say one last thing?
One last thing, Mr. Fred, and then we're gonna get started. Go ahead.
Okay. You know, as I think about this, I'm thinking about, I'm one for creativity. I'm one for marketing and promotion. I'm one for idealism. I'm one for unusual, every now and then, like in business, there's that unusual product that comes along, or that unusual person comes along, right? I remember the story like the Cabbage Patch dolls, man, which to me was the ugliest doll in the world, but it sold and made millions of dollars, right? We all remember that, right? And I remember how the story got to how they became so successful. But to make a long story short, I'm thinking about her wings. So I'm thinking about how many people eat wings. I'm thinking about, let's just look at the market of Texas alone. Just Texas alone. So I'm looking at how this business can explore. And as we had in your last session, I think, or session before last, who are you catering your product to? There's what's called the law of economic supply and demand. Then I'm going to really go towards that, because Texas alone, I could put it on a cowboy hat and a cowboy suit, and I go down to Texas. I know we're gonna make some money. We're gonna do some whole lot of yeehaws. So when we're looking to that fact, so I'm thinking about everything. That's right.
I hear you, Mr. Fred. You all in, right?
Yeah, I'm all in. I'm gonna give me a country western song. I'm gonna have them singing in the background. Oh, I'm gonna do it up right. So I'm all in.
So let me wrap up before we get into the presentation. The thing I want to highlight why I started this session talking about the money with a video is because, number one, as we wrapping up these sessions, you have to practice what you learn.
Right.
You have to practice the vocabulary, market, financial statements, cost of goods. You have to practice what you learn. I told you in session 1 that part of the fear and the hesitation of building a business, you have to change your habits. You have to put yourself in the position where you're looking at how do you make business decisions. Because that's the hardest part of being in business, are the decisions you need to make. You guys have brought up maybe 3 or 4 different potential strategic actions in just a 7-minute video. We didn't sit there with them all day. We don't have all the documents. Half of you said, I need more information. We didn't do all that due diligence. That was a 7-minute clip. And you guys probably go on for another hour discussing it, but you have to do that kind of exercise on your own, whether it's reading a different type of magazine that you might not be used to reading, whether it's watching different TV programs, whether it's listening to different types of podcasts. You have to put yourself in the position where you're practicing the business skills you need for your business. The other reason I showed you is because I wanted you to put you in the seat of an external person, because you're going to have to interact with folks. They might not be investors. They might even just be a vendor. Everybody's going to be looking at your business, and they're going to want facts about your business that they're going to use to make judgment. But they also may want to hear your story. You notice they asked her, tell me about the homelessness, because that demonstrated that they had a level of grit, that they had a level of stickability, that no matter what happened, they were going to grind it out. There are a lot of investors who pick the entrepreneur versus just the business. So as you're constructing your business plan, don't leave out your story. But you still got to have the sound finances at the end of the day. And so that's what we're going to go over. I truncated some concepts so it's nice and tight for the next 45 minutes that we're going to discuss. So everybody's good?
Good.
How do you feel about that discussion you just had?
Oh, it's great. Great.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Was it helpful in reminding you what you actually learned over a 3 sessions in a boot camp?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Wonderful.
Tiffany, you have a question?
Can I solicit y'all to be on my board? That's the real question with sincerity in it.
And that's the other thing. You don't know what partners you'll be making when you attend these kind of events, even in a virtual session, because you will need partners to grow your business. So that's a great question. So yeah, I would take that seriously. So we're gonna be, so I've labeled this session capital and COVID. So that's basically gonna be a theme. Talk a little bit about the money, and then we're gonna talk about the implications of COVID. Okay. So we start off with our basic definition of a business. By the end of this, it should be at the top of your head. An operation that's structured, that's licensed, in compliance, that's organized with systems, that provides a product, service, and a customer experience to a set or group of customers in which the businesses collects payment in a timely and efficient manner. Okay, so if that's the business, then the value proposition is the benefit that the business promises to deliver to the customer. And we all, as we recall from the last session, that benefit is solving a customer's job, it's relieving a pain, or it's giving them a gain that they didn't expect. So with that in mind, here is I layer on top. If that's what a business is, here's how I view a profitable business. Because the end goal for you is not just to have sales, it's not just to have revenue, but to be profitable. So in a nutshell, over time, the money going out of the business, meaning the money you're going to spend to cover the cost and expenses of the operation to provide the product and service and experience, as well as the cost and expenses to collect payment, should be less than the money coming into the business as a result of those payments. Okay, let me say that again. Nutshell, the money going out should be significantly less over time than the money coming in from the payment. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Okay. Anybody have an objection to that type of definition of how we're approaching it in this presentation? Monica, let me know if anybody raises their hand. All right. The reason why I frame it this way, and I start the definition with money going out, because I need to remind you, to make money, you will have to spend some money. Now, based upon your type of business, that's going to vary. For me, for a consulting business, it may be all just primarily setup costs, professional network memberships, some access to databases. I don't have any inventory. The inventory I have is time, which is another thing to manage. So each business type is going to have varying degrees of what that money needs to going out and what you're going to get in return, right? So what I want to add to our discussion and add to your vocabulary is the concept of revenue management. And I will say upfront, revenue management tends to be a concept that is used mostly in the hotel industry. But I believe it's just a concept of looking at your business that could be used in other industries. So I will read the official definition, and then most authors give a simple version to help people understand. So it's a modern economic discipline. So when under the field of economics, it's its own discipline that combines expansive statistical analysis with price and product segmentation to predict customer behavior and optimize price and availability for increased revenue. In a nutshell, simplified version, you have to have the right product to the right customer through the right channels, using the right tools at the right time for the right price to optimize potential revenue. Okay. And the reason why I like looking at businesses from this perspective is that you're just not thinking about, oh, let's just talk about the money going out and the money coming in, because this tells you the areas, and it's kind of reinforces what we've been saying over the last 3 sessions, where you have to spend money. You have to spend money finding the right customers, And you got to find time to determine that. So that's all about that strategy we talked about, that value proposition stuff we talked about, and the marketing stuff. You got to have the right channel. So you got to know your product and how best to deliver it to the customer and how best to engage with the customer so they don't return it. And you got to have the right tools. What's going to facilitate payment? What's going to facilitate your staff being comfortable and growing a culture that's productive? And then what's the right time? As Mr. Fred said, he was like, well, let's talk about these wings. Now, if she's in the wing business, we all know we eat a lot of wings in the summertime. It would be wrong of her if she said, well, I'm launching in the winter. We'd be like, huh? What are you doing that for?
Right.
Not saying that people don't grill and do that thing in winter, but the summertime would be more appropriate. But timing is also time of day, time of the days of the week, the months of the year. So there's a lot of spectrum that's going to vary by your business type. And then pricing. And we didn't talk a lot about pricing because that is its own. They have entire courses on just pricing. But you have to know, based upon the generic strategy you choose, you have to figure out if you're going to be like the cost leadership strategy. That means you're standardizing the product so you have low cost and you're offering low prices. So you know you got to pick the right customer that's going to agree with that price and everything else. Okay. So critical part. So here's how I have layered that over our basic definition of a profitable business. So when you start thinking about your strategy development for your business and the value proposition, as you write out what that will be, as you start drafting that and thinking of the various options, I want you to at the same time think about the 6 rights we talked about. So if you choose cost leadership or you choose a focus or a differentiation strategy, I want you to think about, okay, what is the right product and service for that particular strategy? Okay. Next, what is the right customer that fits that product and service and that experience? So you want to make sure you have a value proposition, customer fit. Then you want to make sure for your marketing and customer engagement and your distribution of getting the product out there, what channels do you need to use to make sure you're getting in front of the right customer, that they're seeing the right message about that product and service, and then they're getting the right customer experience? And then what other support tools that you need to get that done? So that's the other systems you have to build in your business. And then what's your timing? Do you promote all your products the whole year? Or do you focus on certain products at certain times of the year with certain groups of people? That's another decision point. And then lastly, like I said, you're going to look at the right price. So if you write that out on paper first, you can start, that's a mini scenario planning you're doing. And you can see, does this all line up? Is the value proposition match with these 6 rights, or am I off base? Therefore, you can make far more greater decisions about what you're going to do with your business. Because at the end of the day, and we're going to go through the financial statements, so you'll know if at the end of the day, if it's not making a profit, then you might not want to exercise that scenario for your business. Does that make sense to everybody? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, it does.
Okay? So that's how we're going to look at the narrative portion of our business plan, with the write-up on all your systems, and how we're going to look at the financial statements side by side. We're going to look at it from a revenue management standpoint. Okay? Any questions, thoughts on that?
No, sounds good.
Okay. So with that in mind, we know the first thing we have to do is fund this business. We got to get it off the ground. Right. Even while we're still maybe figuring out the strategy, the customers and all that good stuff, you guys have committed to moving forward. So I just put 4 basic mechanisms of how you can fund your business. And you just practice that as being in the Shark Tank. So number 1, you can just bootstrap it all the way, which many people do. There's nothing wrong with it. So you're building a company from the ground up using nothing from maybe personal savings. and you're using whatever cash is coming into the business, whatever small amounts of profits you might be getting at the early stage, you're putting everything right back into the business. So that's bootstrapping. Now, that takes you have to be very diligent and mindful, because you will be limited on what you can do by whatever cash you have on hand. Okay. Now, other options for financing. One, you could go into debt. So we have debt financing, in which you're raising money for working capital or capital expenditures from either individuals or institutions, and they're going to be called the creditors. And so as a result of getting the money from them, you promise to pay back the principal and the interest on the debt. Let me be clear, right? And make sure everybody here. When you get a loan from anybody, whether it's friends and family, you go to a bank, in your financial projections, you not only have to account for paying the current expenses of the business, but you have to generate enough revenue so that you're also paying back the principal and whatever the interest rate is on top of that. If that's a monthly payment, if it's a balloon payment at the end of the year, whatever. So you have to be very careful in your forecasting, that you're able to illustrate that the business is going to use the cash coming in from the loan in such a way that it's going to increase the revenue to cover this additional expense of the loan. Okay, is everybody clear?
Okay.
Okay. Now you can have your traditional banks and credit unions. They all do small business lending. What I want to highlight, though, the SBA does have a special loan guarantee program in which they work with different banks to be the guarantee for a small business loan for a business that may not qualify for a traditional loan. Now, it is done quite a bit in the DC area, but please know the SBA does not loan you the money. They work through banks to loan you the money, and they don't back 100%. I think the last statistic I saw, it's about 80% they're going to cover. Now, if you default, you still got to pay the money back. They just act, they act like a co-signer for you. But don't think it means that you are not responsible for the payment. You are still required to pay. Is that clear? Right. Is that they're trying to help people who normally would not get funding, but have a great business or great business idea. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll be sure to share the link for more information on that for you. Next, I want to talk about equity financing, which is what you hear a lot about on Shark Tank. They do offer some debt financing, but equity financing, I think because of Shark Tank, everybody's like, I need an investor. Be careful, because here's what. Equity financing is a process in which you raise capital, you raise money for the business through the sale of shares of the company. And what we mean by selling shares is that you are effectively sharing part ownership of the business to someone else or another organization. Let me say that again in another way. When you sell a share, that means you're taking on another owner. That owner, based upon how the agreement is set up, has the right and the responsibility to provide input on the operation of your business. So you're not going to be by yourself making decisions anymore. Now, there is the concept of a silent partner. I think I have seen that one time in my entire career. You do have certain investors who yeah, I'll just give you the money, but I'm not going to make any input. You do have that arrangement, but I find it to be rare. You might get lucky, but I'm just letting you know it's rare. Okay. Okay. A couple of terms you might want to be familiar with. So some investors are part of larger organizations or companies called venture capitalists. So you do have venture capitalists. That's all they do, is they invest in other businesses. Now, they do tend to want to invest and very high growth businesses. Remember on the business life cycle, they like those who go from startup to growth really, really fast. Okay, because they want to get their money back from the business, because they might sell their shares later, or they want you to grow the business so fast that if you do sell the entire business, they get the cash out. So you have to be very careful when you deal with venture capitalists. Okay, and the amount they give you is going to be equating to a certain percentage of the company, and that's going to be kind of coined the valuation of the business. So, for instance, in our Shark Tank moment, they asked for, I think it was 10% for 100K they were offering. So that means they're effectively saying that their business was worth about $1 million. So that's what if somebody was to invest at that level, that's what they're investing in. They're saying the business is worth $1 million because I'm 10 times 100,000 will give you $1 million. Okay, because I'm getting 10% of the shares. Okay. All right. So bare bones basic of how you get to an evaluation. Now, the other group you want to be mindful of, or potential investors, are called angel investors. So these tend to be high net worth individuals that want to give people a chance. They're not as money focused as maybe the venture capitalists, because the venture capitalists, that's their business, that's all they do. Some angel investors are more invested in helping a group of entrepreneurs or a type of entrepreneur and getting them to where they need to be. But they also will get a part ownership if you do get an angel investor. Now, the DC area, there was a time there weren't very many venture capitalists or angel investors. That has since changed. They are more in the area than previous. You can do a decent Google search and a number of them will come up. And some that I'm least familiar with because they're literally new. So this area has changed in the availability of equity financing, because this is a relatively conservative area. It was known for government. So we didn't have a lot of tech companies or high growth, fast growth companies, but that is now changing. Okay. Anybody got questions on debt versus equity financing? Okay. And then lastly, I want to highlight crowdfunding. I think this really came on strong about 10 years ago. I think classic example is maybe Kickstarter or GoFundMe. So this is where you presenting your business or your business idea or your product idea to a large, vast group of people, and they kind of contribute to fund maybe the first round of products or what have you. And in exchange, they either get a signature product or something like that, or sometimes they can get actual equity. So that is a viable option. There have been businesses that have launched using a Kickstarter campaign. It is still quite competitive because all the thousands of people, millions of people that go on Kickstarter to check out new products or new ideas, you're competing against everybody else that has an idea on there. But it is a fabulous way to get started because it's such a broad group of people who are supporting your idea if they think it's viable. And particularly for Kickstarter, you get to set the amount that you want to raise. And it's a kind of an all or nothing deal. So you either get all of the funding and match your target, or you don't. So that really helps you. So you're not paying money for product until you get the funding. So that's the other benefit from crowdfunding. Okay. But please know, to get funding of any kind or to manage your own bootstrap strategy to get going, you're going to have to understand the 3 basic financial statements. Okay. So we have a cash flow statement, profit and loss statement, or otherwise known as the income statement, and the balance sheet. Anybody have any questions before we go into these?
I have one question on GoFundMe. Now, exactly, when you mention GoFundMe, you also too, is it imperative to tell your storyline?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In
And
detail?
that would be up to you. You know, that has to be part of your strategic perspective of how you gonna approach that.
Okay.
But like I said, you know, the pitch, you know,
Right.
it's how you going for it, you know.
Right.
So
Exactly. Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So 3 financial statement, cash flow statement, profit and loss, balance sheet. Sorry, did somebody has a question?
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask if it would be better to form like an LLP versus doing equity financing.
Okay, those are 2 different things. LLP is a legal structure that when you register your business, you're saying that these are the partners that have formed the business. Okay. And so you do bring up a point though, if you do take on investors and how that ownership structure is documented, you may have to change your business registration or your legal status. That just depends of how the equity arrangement and agreement is structured. So you do have to check with DC government and say, if I take on owners, you don't have to be an LLP because you can be an LLC with more than one owner. The LLP is just saying that each of them are sharing the responsibility and ownership of the business based upon whatever percentage structure you have indicated in your articles of organization. So you don't necessarily have to be an LLP. Is that clear? So equity financing is a vehicle for raising money. LLP is a legal structure telling the jurisdiction what's the ownership structure of the business. So they're slightly different, but one can impact the other if you do get equity financing, if you might need to change your registration.
Yeah, so that's why I asked about it. So and with the LLP, you can still get equity financing.
Yeah, it can be done. Most in the past, I'll say this in the past, there was a time that investments was kind of reserved for corporation status because a corporation would issue shares. Okay. So there have been some variations on that. So I would get legal advice. So the pro bono law clinic or the DC pro bono clinic is offered by the law association. They would provide you more step-by-step advice on which would be better. Because you might want to switch from an LLC to a corporation and not be an LLP or LLC. But those are your options. But there are tax implications when you do that. So that's the other side of it. Okay. So just be careful.
Yeah, no. And I can see how that could get really sticky.
Yes, it can.
Because the partners with the LLP would have to be like on the same page in terms of the accepting the financing or identifying where it might come from.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that would be tough. I'm not a partner person, so I don't know. I could do an LLP personally. So it really depends on who you're in business with, and whoever you're in business with, you better get to know them better than your family members, because anything they do can impact your business. So just know. Okay, but great question. Thank you for bringing it up. Anybody else had a thought?
No, this was Quan. I was just listening in, and I just wanted to emphasize that this slide that's up now on financial statements is probably the most important slide for Black-owned businesses. Our experience, in Congress Heights, helping people with stimulus access. This is the major reason why a number of businesses did not receive funding, because they don't have these 3 statements that are up here, current, And so now, SBA and the Biden administration is putting out money for navigators to go out and help businesses across the country because we don't keep these three statements. And so I just wanted to be redundant, to emphasize the point that these are the key statements that you must keep for your business to access any type of funding.
Well said. Thank you. So everybody got that? So Congress Heights has said, if you don't learn anything tonight, these three statements you need to have in your back pocket, which is what you will have, because remember we talked about in session 1, when you set up your business and you set up the accounting, you're going to get that accounting software, link it to your bank account, your business bank account, because that will help you generate these statements without having going through pen to paper. But I have included blank templates of each of these in the external folder. So please go there if you want to download it and see what each one looks like. But I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough of each one so you have a basic understanding of how they work. Now, as a preference, this is just my personal preference. You can have a different perspective, and that's quite all right. I like to start with the cash flow statement. I feel it's the easiest to learn. And if you have this as your starting point, it helps you with the others. But like I said, it's a personal preference, and either way you do it, it's fine. So cash flow statement, in a nutshell, it records all sources of cash coming into the business and all sources of cash leaving the business. So you're going to identify if you got money from your friends, if you got money from your personal saving account, your mama gave you a little bit of money, and then maybe you got a small loan from somebody. All sources of cash, including whatever you get from sales, are going to be recorded. The second half of the cash flow statement records all the expenses of the business, everything that you pay for, and it's usually recorded on a monthly basis. And most funding mechanisms, whether it's a traditional bank loan, they will ask for like 3 years of projections. Okay, I'm going to show you two in a second, but let me just finish up the basic definition for each of these. The profit and loss statement is slightly different. It records the money coming into the business only from sales. So it only records the revenue, not the loan money, not the money you pulled in from your savings account, just the revenue from sales. And then it records the cost of goods. So it separates the expenses that are associated with making the product or services. Cash flow records all the expenses, no matter if it's general or specific to a product, it doesn't matter. Profit and loss, it indicates the revenue and then the money you needed to spend on just the product. This is why you got to know your product, because you got to know what expenses you incur every time a customer puts in an order. And then it records in a separate portion of it the operating expenses. So all the other expenses that you have to pay that have nothing to do with the product. Okay. So when you subtract the sales from the cost of goods, you have what's called the gross profit. People say, oh yeah, I made 500 million last year. I'd be like, is that sales? Because that's one thing. Is that gross profit? And then you got to subtract the operating expenses. That's when you get your net profit. So at the end of the day, to be profitable, you want to generate net profit, not just sales, not just profit, but net profit. So you want to come out at the end of the day on the plus side and not on the negative. Okay. The last thing is the balance sheet. And here you're recording all of the assets of the business and all of the liabilities of the business. I like it puts them side by side, but some have different formats. So the assets are all the items of the business that are worth money. They're going to be listed out in a certain way, and the values are going to be indicated. And then it's going to say what all of the things that the business owes. So the loans, what bills are due, everything like that. And so the one liability you have to think about is owner's equity. That is considered a liability because the owner has rights to the assets. And so in principle, the balance sheet is supposed to show the assets and the liabilities and owner's equity, and the two sides are supposed to balance out. So let's go through and show you what they look like. And let me know if you can see this, because I also have the Excel spreadsheet that can make it easier. Can everybody see this okay?
Yes, I see it.
We're not going to go into the details. I'm just going to show
It's
you.
too small.
It's too small? Okay, let me go ahead and bring up the actual spreadsheet then. It might be easier to see. Okay, can everybody see this one okay?
Yeah.
All
Yes,
right. All right, so I'm going to scroll down so you can see everything. All right, so this is a basic cash flow statement. Like I said, this template is available in the folder. For this one, it's laid out by the year and each month is identified. And so here it's at the top category, it says cash receipts. Here's where you're recording money from sales, returns, collections, interest, loan, owner contributions, any source of money coming into the business are recorded in the various categories, and you can add new categories if you need it, okay? And then you indicate when did that money come into the business by the month, okay? The next section, let's scroll up here, is the cash paid out. And I like to use this template because it just kind of shows you the examples of different category of expenses that you might have. And again, you're going to record that for each month. And this shows you what variation of expenses you have month to month throughout the year, and the variations of money coming into the business month to month throughout the year. Once you get down to the end of it, here's the important part. It has a lot of other fancy stuff, but don't get caught up on that. Just focus on the main stuff. It says total cash paid out, and at the end of the month, cash on hand. The spreadsheet is set up in such a way it's automatically going to subtract what's coming in from what's going out. And you're going to be left with the total at the end of the month. So you can see month to month if you are coming out in the positive or if you're coming out on the negative. Because so you can also use it to say, when do I need to have more money coming into the business because I'm running out of cash, okay? So that's what's called a cash flow statement. I like to call it a glorified budget statement, but that's a cash flow statement. Is everybody good? Any thoughts?
Yes, yeah, no, that's good.
Great. Okay, so let me bring up the other spreadsheet here. Come out of that. Okay, so let's go over the income statement. And again, let me remind you, if you're using accounting software, as long as you put the data in right into your software, it would automatically generate these statements for you. So that's where accounting software is so helpful. Okay, so here's the income statement. The top section is revenue. So this is going to be all the sales you're going to put in, and whether this is for the month or for the year, whatever the case might be, you're going to put in just what the money coming in from just sales. The second section is what's called the cost of goods. So here you're going to put in the expenses for those expenses only related to the product. So for instance, if I own that sauce company,
right,
a cost of good would be the ingredients for the sauce, or the bottle, or the packaging, because I'm only going to order that stuff and pay for that stuff when I know I got to fulfill an order for a customer. So it's the expenses directly related to making the product, right?
Okay.
The way the spreadsheet is set up, once you put in your net sales and your cost of goods, it's going to automatically calculate that for you, and then you're going to get your gross profit here.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
The third big section is going to be expenses. It looks a little bit like the cash flow statement. So it lists everything else you got to pay for. So if you, for that month or that year, if you had to pay for advertising, let's say you had to do the renewal for your registration, you had some other legal fees, you have to hire a graphic designer, all that stuff you paid for would be indicated here. And again, the spreadsheet will calculate, and then you have your net income or net loss. This is the number you want to get right. Okay. Any questions?
No, good.
Everybody good?
Good, good.
Y'all real quiet.
I got a question. On the list of expenses, it said bad debts.
Yep. If you don't collect.
Oh, outstanding debts?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. If somebody doesn't pay you, that's basically you paid them.
Right.
Yeah.
It becomes an expense.
Yeah.
This is why the United States has a whole industry of companies that collect debt. So they buy somebody's debt, 50 cents on the dollar, 20 cents on the dollar, or whatever, and then they go collect it. Because the company's like, I've written that off. I'm never going to get that. But they buy it and they be like, well, we'll hunt the people down because they bought it at a reduced rate. So the company doesn't take a complete loss, but they take something for it. But yeah, so you have to keep track of what you may lose from money going out that way.
Okay.
And that could be mean customers not paying you. You didn't gave them the product. Okay. Yeah, but great point. Great for pointing that out. Anybody else? You guys got sharp eyes. Sure, go ahead.
For the business to government, where would you put your labor? Would your your salary for your employee, would that be the labor, contract labor? What would you?
Great question. So here's where you really have to know your product. If the labor is only associated with making the product, meaning you'll hire that person just to put the bows on the package, they might go in the cost of goods. Now, if you have a marketing person and you got an HR person and you got all these other people that you got to pay regardless if you didn't make any sales, they would go under the expenses. That's the tricky part. This is why you got to know your product. So if you got a government contract, and let's say for just that contract, you had to hire extra help just because you can't be there and you just hired extra help, they may be classified under cost of goods. Yeah. But great question.
So,
okay.
Go ahead. You have a follow up?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So that's what it was kind of around the same question. I wasn't exactly sure with businesses that are more service oriented, what would kind of go in that cost of goods sold if for the most part you're not building or making anything.
If you're not making anything, like I said, the revenue isn't coming in yet, but you got people
making a physical product. So you're not making the paper to print the photos. That's just something you purchase to do that, or you're outsourcing it to another company.
Yes, then that's the case. But even in the service business, you have to be mindful if I got an independent contractor just for that day because maybe you got a big order for photographs or group photos, like you did a summer camp and you did everybody's picture. Now that everybody wanted different packages, so you hired somebody just to assist you for that day. They might go in cost of goods. Yeah, gets a little tricky with services, but you're right. Yeah. So emphasize once again, you have to know your product. So you have to know your production process, even in the service industry, so you can properly align and appoint the expenses in the right category. Okay. Any other thoughts?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
So keeping in line with what with Tiffany's question, if it's service oriented, what if you have like 1099 people?
Yep. So here again, what are they doing? If they're assigned to just that product and they're direct, like it says here, direct labor for making that product, they would be cost of goods. If they are assigned to do just general stuff, like I have to have them anyway, then they would go in the expenses. So again, you got to know, how you're using your people, because the same is for equipment, so it's the same principle. But yes, you just got to know when and how you're using all of the assets of the business. But great question. So you can see how some small businesses get into trouble, because they might not take the time to think about, okay, when did I use that? Or I didn't do the record keeping of when did I use that person? Like, were they actually cost of goods, or were they, because we sometimes hire people and we, how many of you have a position description and it says other duties as assigned? And we just give them a whole bunch of stuff to do, not realizing that affects the accounting? Yes, but you're absolutely right. Great question. Anybody else? Okay. Please let me know if you have a question, because I can't see everybody, because when you're sharing your screen, you can't see everybody. So, okay, let's go over to the last one. Let me pull that up. All right, so the last one is the balance sheet. This is my favorite one to use, but like I said, there are many other templates. You could do a quick search, but I put this in the folder. I like it because it highlights some ratios that you might use for the business, but I'm going to cover that in the next slide. So I also like it because it lays the assets and the liabilities side by side. There are other formats where the assets are on top and the liabilities at the bottom. I like to see it side by side, but again, personality, stylistic thing. So for the assets, you're gonna list and complete all the items that have value and owned by the business, not you, the business. And also, if you are giving equipment or something to the business, you need to document that you have transferred that over from a personal standpoint to the business, because it needs to be recorded on the balance sheet. Okay. And the other key thing, the first asset is always cash. So whatever cash or equivalents you, like if you have a bank account, the total amount, that's always first. The most liquid asset is first. Okay. So two big groups of assets are current assets and fixed assets. Current assets are those that can be easily kind of, for lack of a better word, converted into cash if you needed to liquidate. So if you have short-term investments, accounts receivable, so money you're collecting from clients, you have inventory, you can always convert that back to money, convert that back to cash. The fixed assets are a little different. These are more of the assets you don't necessarily want to convert to cash, because you need that asset to do the work of the business. Perfect example is if you have any equipment, if you have an automobile, if you have land, you have a building, you most likely don't want to sell any of that, because you actually need that to run the business. Okay. And then after that, you list any other assets that may not fall in the first two categories. And so the spreadsheet would automatically total up the total assets, right? So it's going to total it up as soon as you plug in your numbers. On the flip side, you got to look at your liabilities. Here's the things get tricky. So you have current liabilities. So it's usually all of the debt payments that business needs to make within that year. So if you have a loan or you got a mortgage for the land that you built the building on for the business, what are the total amount of the payments that are due for that year would go into current liabilities. If you have bills due to creditors or electricity bill, utility bill, all of that stuff would go as what is due that the business has to pay for. Okay. Then you have the other or long term. So if you have the mortgage and you recorded, and it's a 30-year mortgage, you recorded the first year of that mortgage up here, the remaining 29 years you would record here under the long-term debt. So anything that's outside of that year that you still have to pay, you would put that total under the other liabilities. And again, you can change the categories if you have other categories. Most people don't. And most of you won't have much long-term debt unless you do take out a small business loan or something, or you got a friends and family type loan. Okay. Now you plug that in, it's going to total the liabilities. Here's the thing. The spreadsheet is probably going to subtract the assets from the liability and give you owner's equity. Assets minus liability is the owner's equity. Here's the problem that most small business get into trouble that I have seen, because they have not properly recorded the assets and have not properly recorded liabilities. The owner's equity calculation sometimes is off because they haven't recorded all the money and assets that the person has put into the business. So if you have invested in your business, let's say you're taking $500 out your little paycheck, you be like, I'm gonna put this on the business this month. That should be for that month. If you did a balance sheet, that cash should be reflected on the balance sheet so it could show up on your owner's equity. Because sometimes people look at the number and be like, I don't know what that means. Because the owner's equity is the business's net worth. You've been in the news when people say, oh, yeah, that company's worth $5 billion. That means that all of the assets minus all of the bills and all the people they owe equals $5 billion. It doesn't mean they have $5 billion in the bank or they have $5 billion of assets. That means somewhere, like say they have $10 billion of assets, but they might have $5 billion of debt. You subtract that, that's where you're going to end up with the remaining of the owner's equity. So it's actually the portion you own of the business. And it's going to be very low to start off with. The beauty of a balance sheet is if you're monitoring and checking this every month, every quarter, every year, you should see your equity increase because the business is getting more valuable. Okay?
Okay.
Because you're either going to have more cash or you're going to have more assets, you're going to have investments, and you're going to manage your debt. So even if you bought the land to build a building, to run the business, you're paying your bills on time, so the liability goes down and the asset of the building is going to appreciate and it's going to go up. That's how you build up your net worth, okay? And the owners get to claim the net worth. Now, if you have partners or you have investors, you're sharing that net worth based upon the agreement. So let's say the business is worth $5 billion, but you sold 10%, like they had the sauce lady was offering. Then you only have 90% that you can claim. The rest you cannot claim. Okay?
Right.
Any thoughts, questions?
That's good.
All right. We're just about at time. Does everybody have about 10 more minutes to go over a couple more things and then we'll end for the night? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. So let me come out of there. So those are your three basic financial statements. Okay.
Okay.
They get more complicated the more complex and bigger the business. It's going to start off real simple for you at the beginning. So if you don't have an expense category that you see, just leave it blank. Don't even trip. If you don't have that expense, you just don't have that expense. Okay. Now, once you have your financial statements, yes, it's a great benefit and you need it when you want to go for funding. Here's the true value of the financial statements if you're analyzing it. Based upon the type of business you have, there are accounting or financial ratios, these calculations we can make to give us a sense about how well the business is doing. Instead of just talking about just pure money, you're looking at your business from different perspectives. So here's overall performance, profitability measures, that kind of thing. If you have your financial statements, you're able to do these calculations And some software will do it for you. And that gives you more information of where you might need to make improvements on the business. Okay. I won't go into detail to the ratios because there are a number of them, and the ratios vary in importance based upon the type of business you're in. Okay. So I put a couple of examples because these tend to be the most popular ones, right? So you already know that profit margin is going to be key because that's going to come from the income statement, right? Remember that I talked about that net profit? That's just the percentage of what's the net profit. So they're going to, if you have shares, the earnings per share is going to be important. If you have a lot of assets, return of assets is going to be important for you. So it's going to be varied based upon your type of business. If you have a lot of inventory, asset turnover is going to be probably important for you. So it's going to be varied, and it's going to vary by your industry. And they have a lot of publications that tell you where you should be with those ratios based upon the size of your business and type of your business. So when you go for a loan, that bank is not only going to look at your financial statements, they're going to run the calculations, and then they're going to compare the calculations for your business against what the industry says you should be. So it's best that you know that upfront than when you go to apply for a loan. Okay. And if anybody wants more detail for their particular industry, just email me and I'll do the research for you and send it to you. Because I have, I think I have the Risk Management Association book and the valuation book. So these are very expensive resources. So you won't find them typically everywhere. So let us know what you need and we'll get it to you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Quickly, that's the financial statements, but here are some financial records you got to keep up to date, because the banker will be like, send me all this other stuff. Just like you guys said, I need more information. I want to see the business plan. I want to see the market. Okay, well, here are some other things people are going to ask for, and you should be looking at on a regular basis. So you have your financial statements. You got to have your tax records handy because everybody wants to know you're compliant and paying your both federal and local taxes. And even if you have a debt to the IRS or DC government, they want to know, like, you get on a payment plan. It's okay to have that debt on your cash flow statement and on your balance sheet, but just know you got to pay it. Okay. And by the way, if you have an IRS debt, it doesn't get on your credit report. So just let you know. And they're really flexible if you owe them. And it's automated now. You can get on a payment plan electronically. Just let you know, because I have to keep track of them sometimes because you never know what they can offer. But anyway, the other thing that's very important, if you have employees, you've got to have your payroll straight. Your payroll and your benefits information got to be straight. If you are a product-based business, you need to have your inventory records in order, because inventory equals money. Because the amount of inventory, the value of it is recorded on your balance sheet. So it immediately affects what the business is worth. So you never want to have inventory just sitting. It's literally like having cash sitting on a shelf. So you got to move it. If it's not selling, and when you thought it would, discount it and get it out the way. Last resort, donate it and get the tax rebate from your charitable donation. But don't have inventory sitting around. The other issue is that you guys picked out during the Shark Tank presentation, if your inventory is perishable, your sales cycle has to be very tight so you can sell it and not let it spoil, because then you can never give it away and you can never even get the tax deduction for a charitable donation. So be mindful of your inventory. And those of you that are in the service business, consider your time as inventory. So don't think, oh, I didn't have a client this week. You just lost blocks of time that you did not sell, and you can't get it back. So be very mindful. Also, your property records. So if you have equipment, make sure either in your accounting software or your accounting, if you get a bookkeeper, make sure they're properly accounting for the depreciation or the appreciation, so the values can be recorded properly on the balance sheet. but you got to have your property record. You got to know, when did you buy it? How much did you buy it for? You got to document this. So most software, they have a calculation. If you put it in a laptop, they have a way of calculating. There's some IRS standards of how much that would depreciate over time, etc. Okay. For those of you that are a corporation, or you're going to sell shares or have ownership or get investment, make sure you have a stock ledger and that you're recording in your board meeting minutes or your partnership meetings, all of those discussions and decisions about selling the shares or ownership. Again, that gets reflected on the balance sheet, so you want to have documentation of that. Okay. All right. Lastly, you got to have your bank account information, including credit and loan documents, and you got to have your credit profiles. And I have a whole slide on that, so you can read that at a later date. But point to remember, if you're using your social media account and it's linked to your credit card to pay for advertising, or you are accepting payment via social media, make sure you are checking those sites or those e-commerce sites to record those transactions. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now I put a slide here of all of the credit reports. There's also business credit reporting that we talked about earlier through Dun & Bradstreet. If you're going for financing and you have a young company, 3 to 5 year startup, if the loan is going to be based upon your personal credit worthiness. So if you need to work on your credit, do so now. You can build a business while working on your credit. Because if the business doesn't have enough financial background, they're going to ask for your credit and your collateral information. I also want to let you know there is what's called a check system. So if you owe any banks money because you went into overdraft status or owe them for some reason, the check system collects that information. So you have your credit bureaus and you have the check system. Okay. So make sure you order your report. You can get one free every year, just like you can get an annual credit report every year. It doesn't come with the credit score, so you got to pay for that. That's extra. So I put that information here. I apologize for going quickly, but I want to make sure I get to a couple of things and I don't want to keep you too late. And I want to end in like 5 more minutes. Highlight that I want you to think about is business continuity. So it basically is you trying to plan for the what ifs. And I have highlighted here some areas you need to think about. And you don't have to have a real exhaustive plan, but you have to think about what are you going to do if any of these things occur and you can't get to your business, you can't open your business. Because regardless, if you have customers, the business still needs to operate. All right. So here's some categories: health and wellness. So if you get sick or a staff member gets sick, or other personal commitments that call you away from the business, what's the backup? If you have staff turnover or absence, sometimes you have key players who might just quit on you. What are you going to do? Natural disasters. Okay, we're expecting the remnants of a hurricane this weekend. DC is known for flooding. What are you going to do if your street of where your business is located is flooded out? We've had an earthquake. So what are you going to do if you're near a train station and they have to close down the area because things are now unstable? Just think about it. Cyber or hacking. So if your customer data or your financial data is exposed, you got to make sure you have insurance. But what are you going to do to remedy? Property damage, vendor or supply chain interruption. Your vendor closes down, can't send you what you ordered. What's your backup vendor? Police and fire, public health, and that's what we talk about. I want to make sure we talk about COVID. So not only does COVID have implications just around the health measures, so you have to plan for testing, consents, if you have employees, even testing for yourself. When do you need to go? If you need to go, you have to purchase masks and other PPE, even if it's just hand sanitizer. What is going to be your reopening procedures if that impacts you? Because some of you might have a brick and mortar. We have post-vaccinating vaccine consideration. Are you going to make your employees take the vaccine? You have cleaning and disinfection. That has a cost to it. So you want to make sure you cover that cost. And sometimes that might require a specialty service to come in and do that. You might have to upgrade your AC and ventilation. And then what do you do if you have a staff member or customer has a confirmed case and they visited your store? Luckily for you, the CDC has worked out a lot of guidelines. So I provided you the link. Go there, take a look, and use that as a basis as what you would need to do. And if you need to factor that into your budget. And the last slide I want to cover is that here are some changes to the business environment you need to think about for COVID outside of just pure health. One, just the expenses of monitoring health and safety. There has been a significant change in consumer behavior. So consumers expect some sort of digital technology usage. And if you're dependent on a particular workplace and their employees for customers, they are now working from home. What are you going to do? Okay. There's been supply chain disruption. So make sure you have backup vendors. You still have to build reserves. Reserves are the way you can weather rainy days. Okay. Ideally, you want to have 2 years of operating cash. It will take you a while to get there, but ideally you want to get there because those who had cash in reserve, which will be reflected on their balance sheet, were able to weather the COVID storm. So if they had to shut down, they still were able to pay their bills. So you want to watch out for your budget. You want to have good marketing and communication so you can engage with your customers. And at the same time, COVID has taught us those companies that experimented with new products, new strategies, actually won big in the pandemic. For example, Amazon invested heavily in e-commerce and their delivery within 1 day or less. As a result, they were the big winners during the pandemic because everybody was able to order stuff when they weren't able to go to the store. The whole industry thought Amazon was crazy to spend so much money on distribution. And come to find out now, that's why Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world, because he experimented on how does he continue to add value to the customer. And in these times, he's actually winning. So just think about that, because there's a tendency to say, I'm not going to do research and development because I don't have the money and I need to focus on this. You got to spend a little bit of time on what's going to be new and how do you improve. Okay. So that's all I have for you because we're over time. I don't want to keep you, but I want to make sure to go over COVID. Any questions? I'm willing to stay on to answer any question. Any thoughts? Are y'all bored? Are you tired? I know you're tired, but you did it. You're done. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
When are you going to have phase 2 of your wonderful classes?
We got to work out.
So I'm doing Warm Up Boot Camp, and I think it's in August, but it's going to be tailored towards retailing. So I'm gonna have to do a lot of research behind it.
Dr. Walker, I was just talking to Alden. We might change the subject matter. So
okay, all right.
Look for our email. We literally, that's why I turned my screen off.
So Congressites will let you know. But if you want a one-on-one
but it will be in August.
Yeah, we can do a one-on-one session anytime you Monica has the link to my schedule. So any of this you want to do a deep dive one-on-one, we got you for this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So
Well,
Congressites will let you know the next session. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much on behalf of all of us who participated. You served our time well, you and your staff and Monica and so forth. So I appreciate you letting the man in on the subject matter. I know it said women in business, but men go in business too now.
Right.
But in all sincerity, I really want to thank you very, very much for a great presentation.
If you guys check out Destination Congress Heights on YouTube,
okay,
it has Dr. Walker's first boot camp that she did in June.
Okay.
So all the videos are there as well. And
Okay.
if you reach out to, and I'll put my email address here, please.
Yeah.
If you want the slides from that boot camp as well, I can get those to you.
Okay, thank you.
And Monica, can you post the link to, somebody's asking for the link
Monica Jones.
To the box?
To the schedule. I don't have it at my fingertips.
Oh, hold on. I had it on my phone. I had taken a screenshot of it and I would type it in. 1 second, I can get it.
Yeah. I will be adding more dates for the month of August. So I'm going to confirm with when is the next boot camp, and then I'll add more dates. So you'll have July and August dates. So, and if any of the dates don't meet your schedule, just email me and I'll work something out with you separately. Not a problem.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
so let me just tell you, in essentially 4 hours, because they were scheduled for an hour and a half, 30 minutes discussion and 1 hour presentation. In essentially 4 hours, you have covered about a good 70% of content that would be covered in an MBA program.
Oh, great.
I'm just letting you know.
Oh, appreciate
So
it.
when they say you
Appreciate
can't do
Wow.
something,
Right.
I don't want to hear it.
Right. Very
I
good.
don't want to hear it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I put in a lot of links. So please read those articles, ask questions. If you don't understand, just shoot us an email. It's okay. So you did it. I didn't do it. You did it. I couldn't do it.
Thank you so much.
I would have been off camera
Monica, could you put your email
watching
back up?
TV or something.
Sure.
Dr. Walker, I just wanted to echo Mr. Fred and say thank you for all the information. It was a lot to take in, but I'm going to go back and review it.
Yep.
The other thing I did want to ask is, in terms of the one-on-ones, when's the latest we can kind of schedule? Because I'd like to kind of formulate before I actually schedule that time with you.
Okay, Monica just put the link to schedule. So you can. I think I have the rest of July. So you can pick a date and time, and I try to pick evening, a sort of dates, days, evenings, and weekends. So there's some Saturday appointments. So you can pick what works for you. And then if you want to send me stuff ahead of time to review or think about, just you can do that as well. And I get myself ready.
Okay. I think I'm thinking more instead of like August, maybe September.
Okay. Well, just shoot me an email. Just email me directly. I'll put in my email.
So thank you, everyone. Of course, my email is stuck. Sorry, I'm trying to load something and it is not acting right. Thanks for attending. Everyone should have gotten a reminder email today regarding this session, the last session, as well as there's a survey at the bottom of it. What I'm going to do is, before we disconnect, I'm going to place the link to the survey in the chat if my computer stops slowing down on me. But I had a great time with you guys.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Yes, it was. I love that we interacted a lot. Thank you for turning your cameras on today. I know next time you'll feel extra comfortable with turning them on from the day one A1. But it was fun. It was fun. And I always enjoy BP Walker, and I've listened to her like—
That is not true.
I've listened to her for years, and I've learned something new each time, even though some of it's repeated information.
Yeah.
But there's something that she adds into it each time that I listen to her present that I didn't know before. So we're going to keep her around, and the way we can keep her around is that we get some good reviews from you guys in terms of the survey.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Computer stops acting crazy, and it's still circling.
Somebody put their website in. I'm gonna go visit it. I'm writing it down.
Can we put Dr. Walker in the law of economics, please? And supply and demand. We really appreciate you, Dr. Walker. Thank you so much for your energy, for your insight, for helping us to get a clear understanding. And we do have a lot more questions to ask you, by the way. So
feel free, just send them on over.
Okay.
Send them on over. Not a problem. That's what we're here for. I like working with the Congress Ice team. They wrote me in for one project, and it's like 5 years later.
Right. Okay. How about that? Good. So we've officially adopted you. That's what it is.
Right. And I really hope that you take the entrepreneurship journey seriously, even if you want to do it as a side hustle. The DC as a city and the DMV as a metropolitan area needs your energy to continue to grow the economy. And even if the first venture may not work out the way you would like, you take those lessons, you move it on to the next. So there's never a true failure. You just use it to get to the next stepping stone, because all great leaders and all those who have high net worth, which is some of you guys' goal, because you want to take care of your kids or want to pass it down, build a legacy, build a community. We have all had failures. That is just part of the journey. Take your licks, cry a little bit, and then wake up the next day and be like, all right, I got you. World, I see what you're doing. I see how you're doing it, and keep it moving. Okay.
Very encouraging. Thank you.
And again, last words, don't forget about me. The little people, when y'all blow up.
No way.
I swear to God, I'll cause an incident in Barnes and Noble. I swear. It's gonna be a problem.
Oh, man.
Quick story. I went to China one time, and I told them, I said, look, y'all better not act up with me in China. I said, I will cause an international incident in China, okay? They will kick all of us out. No, I will do an incident. Just let you know. Go ahead, Miss Nicole.
My question, is there an information hub? I see that people are asking for our information. Is it like an information hub for us to gather or, give information to after this is over?
It's a great question. Monica, do you guys have anything like that?
We don't, but I don't mind putting something together like a Dropbox link and dropping stuff in there and then just sharing the link. And as things come up, we can, I can always drop it in there. I can do that.
And if you want, we can start a Shark Tank discussion if you want to meet like every few weeks and we just go over a Shark Tank case.
Love it.
I'm game.
I'm down.
Yes.
I'll pick one every other week or something, and then we just chop it up. No presentation, just chat.
So what we can do is this link is always a reoccurring meeting link. So we say meet in the boot camp chat. The link that you have is always going to be active.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's all good.
Awesome.
So I'll pick a couple of dates, 6 to 7. And you guys sign up with Monica so we know how many people, if it's going to be enough people. If at least 10 people show up, that's a good discussion.
Okay.
And if you miss the next one, we go into the next. That's it.
Everybody drop your email address in the chat really quick so I can have this group's email. And then what I'll do is I'll create a group email listserv.
Yeah.
Because I can pull the chat after the session ends.
Perfect.
Yes, y'all. Yes. Okay. I love it.
That's good.
Because I like y'all ideas. I'm telling you, killed me when you said, yeah, I need to see the business plan. I need more information. I'm not sure I can make that decision right now. So I hope when the banker say that to you, you'll be like, all right, I got you. I hear you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, have a good night. Enjoy.
Hi, guys.
Take care. Stay safe. Bye.
All right, bye.